Do you want to know how I'm making $1,000 a day live streaming football? Stay tuned because I'm going to show you exactly how I'm doing that, from the broadcasting software, how I found the client, and more. So if you want to make $1,000 a day too, this is the video for you. Like, comment, subscribe, and let's jump in. Pro tip, make sure you bring somebody with you to operate the scoreboard graphic, because you need to be able to focus on switching between the multiple cameras if you have them and all the other graphics to ensure things are running smoothly. Now back to the tutorial. So first, before we go into the actual step-by-step process, I want you to understand signal flow. The reason why we talk about signal flow is because this is how your image is going to transfer from camera to switcher to live view. So first we start here at the camera. The camera is going to output, in this instance via HDMI, into our switcher. This is a custom built switcher setup that I use that you will be able to see shortly. From our switcher we output via HDMI and go into our live view. Our live view takes that HDMI image, compresses it, sends it to wherever you want to go, whether it's YouTube or X or something like that, or a network. The reason why we talk about signal flow, for example, if your camera image is there, but you don't see it on your switcher, that means chances are there's a problem with the HDMI cable that you're using to connect them. If you see the image here, but not here, it's probably the cable, the port, something like that. So understanding the basics of signal flow that we just covered helps you to quickly identify a trouble when it comes up and be able to solve that problem and get back up and running smoothly. Now let's dive in and look at how we actually put it together. All right, so if we're starting off here at our camera, presumably you have a camera operator on site. They set up the camera for you. It's on the tripod. What we have to do is take our HDMI cable, connect it to the camera, send it on down there. Just in case, if that camera operator you're working with is new, make sure it is centered on the 50-yard line, because for your wide angle, your main shot for football, you want to do all your operating from the 50-yard line, left and right. First, you're going to identify where the HDMI port is. On this camera, it's going to be right back here. Pop open the HDMI port. We'll plug in our cable. And then we will go from there. Okay, let's bring the HDMI on down to our switcher. Now, this switcher is an 8-camera switcher, the ATEM Mini Extreme. I think I bought this for $1,000. This whole portable switcher kit that I built here was made for less than $1,500 all combined. The monitor was like $100, the case was like $80, a power strip, and a couple extra cables. So all in, we're less than $1,500. Our inputs are all back here, lined up in order. We'll look for input 1. We will plug the HDMI for input 1 in. Then I'm going to plug in my system, because we are in a location that has no power available to us. We have to take our power strip and plug it into a portable battery. Okay, here we go. Now, that image is not actually just pure white, that's just completely blown out. So we'll go and change the camera settings to make sure that we could see the image and it looks nice and clear. Just to make this a quick example, I'm just going to switch from manual to auto, so then it'll just auto balance everything and we'll be able to see the image. In a real life scenario, if you're working with professionals, obviously you would set your exposure correctly. So looking at the layout here, these are your individual inputs that you have on screen. So camera 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so on and so forth. You have your program and your preview monitor. Your preview monitor allows you to preview an effect or something that you're going to do before you take it. Your program is your actual live output. So whatever shows up in your program monitor is what's going to output. If you're looking at the board here, generally speaking, you ignore 90% of the buttons on here 90% of the time. You have your input buttons here. So if I wanted to switch from input 1 to input 2, I would do that. We don't have a second camera set up, so it doesn't matter. I'll stay on input 1, stays on our program. If I wanted to do a cut or a transition, I would use the cut or auto key. If you wanted to do a picture-in-picture effect, you have access to all the picture-in-picture here. Your audio inputs are set on this row right here, so you could turn on the audio that you want from which input. I'll hit on, and then you'll start seeing levels pop up here. Now that means I'm getting audio out of the camera. I have the up and down arrow to tell me if I want it louder, quieter, whatever. In theory, I clap my hands and you'd hear it. If I wanted to plug a microphone in, I could do that in one of the two 3.5 millimeter or 1/8 inch jacks that are back here, mic 1 and 2, and I can control them here with the on, off, and do my mix. We have our headphones next to it. All of the stuff up here I would not worry about. The only thing that you will worry about later on is the key, but we're not at that point yet, so stay tuned for that. And then if you want, you could fade to black out at the end. So now that we've connected the camera to our switcher, we had a quick overview of the board, how we could switch between multiple angles, turn on and off our audio sources. Now we have to connect the output of our switcher to go into the LiveView unit over here, so that way we could complete our signal flow for this live stream. All right, so now we're going to talk about the last step in our signal flow to be able to get this single camera basic live stream out into the world. So we went into our switcher, now we have to go out from our switcher into the LiveView. But first, we need to make sure that the LiveView is actually ready to operate. So the way we're going to do that, we're going to pick up the LiveView, and it has USB on either side. So if you look at the ports on the LiveView, you'll see a USB and an HDMI over here. We're going to be using those. First, we'll connect the USB on this side. On the other side, we also have a USB at the top. We have an Ethernet port here. And then we have our power port via USB-C here, and you need a minimum of 45 watts to power this properly. We'll take the other side of the USB, and we'll plug that in right over here. Now, what we're plugging into these are what they call portable SIM cards. So if you think about it, these are your SIM cards. There's 2 on either side. This goes to a total of 4 SIM cards, and they're basically like the SIM cards that you have in your phone, except they have unlimited, unthrottled, no slower limit, whatever cards in them. And these work anywhere in the world because it's the Pro version. And what it does is when you go live on the LiveView, this will bond those 4 signals together to give you a more consistent and powerful stream. So our SIM cards are connected. Now if you look at the top of the LiveView here, you really have 1 cog wheel and 2 buttons. We press and hold the power button until we see the screen light up, which is going to be a little tough to tell. Okay, so our screen has popped up, and right now you're going to see no camera and a red bar at the top. We're going to see live. It's not live, that's just saying that that's what it does, and then offline down there. You want to make sure that that offline turns to ready, because that means that the signals are connected and we're actually reading them, so then when we do push the stream, we're able to get that signal. So give that another second for it to wake up. Now it says ready. Good. Okay, so now this thing is ready for us to connect our input. So remember, signal flow. We went out from the camera into the board. Now we're going out from the board into the LiveView. It's very important, and I only emphasize what is an output and what is an input, because if you ever decide to use longer HDMI runs, there's something called fiber HDMI, and those are actually one-way cables. These smaller, shorter runs are bidirectional, so it works either way. But if you ever do go for a long cable run and you are using single direction, you need to know which one goes in the input and which one goes in the output. Otherwise, you're not going to get an image at all. So I'm connecting to the HDMI port, and now if you look at the screen, you should see that camera pop up in just a second, hopefully. There it is. So now it is ready to send the signal. All we would have to do is push the play button on here, and then that goes to connecting and then shows you what your actual amount of data is based on kilobits per second. A rough idea for a single stream, you want it to be somewhere between like 8,000 and 12,000 kilobits, and you'll be totally fine. And that's sort of how we will set up our live stream. Now, to take this to the next level, because we're not here to deliver something that's this basic, let's add a live scoreboard that we're able to track and show you how we could set up graphics. All right, so for those of you who are not familiar with a LiveView, what this is, and it is not sponsored at all, however, I do welcome sponsorships on my channel that only has a few hundred subscribers. Thank you. A LiveView basically is a bonded cellular connection. This is an encoder that broadcasts an HDMI or SDI, depending on the model you have, signal to anywhere in the world. So it takes the SIM cards, which are connected via USB, into the LiveU and the Ethernet port if you wanted to use an extra portable hotspot, and it bonds all those signals together to create something that is more stable. And in case one drops out, or maybe T-Mobile doesn't have as good of a signal as Verizon, and so on and so forth, it gives you the most reliable signal for a broadcast anywhere. Obviously, at this remote location, there's probably not any Wi-Fi, safe to say. So when you're at a location and you need an internet signal to be able to push your broadcast, or your computer's not strong enough to handle the encoding, this will do the encoding for you. Encoding basically is compressing your image signal so it's small enough to be able to send over RTMP, which is real-time mapping protocol. I don't know what the hell that means. It's just RTMP is the way that live streaming happens. So it compresses it so it's small enough to transmit over the most basic internet signal possible, and that is how you're able to achieve a live stream at a remote location. All right, so now we've played around with our axis and our crop to be able to get the scoreboard somewhere in the upper middle. We adjusted the edges, we took the top down a little bit, we scaled it down because 100% was a little too much. All of that stuff can be seen in your mask section of the ATEM software control or on the position tab in the H2R graphics. Now, just to show you how this actually works, that this is a functioning scoreboard, I will add a +3, and you'll see the scoreboard update. They got a goal, boom, +3. Okay, cool. We want to start the clock. I can hit the start button, and the clock starts counting down. If we need to stop the clock, I can stop the clock, and it stops. So you're able to completely control this while you're doing it. So what I recommend when you're using the screen is to adjust your tabs to be 50-50 between the scoreboard, the scorekeeping tab. So I will split my tab in half, and that way half of my screen is going to be the website where I'm keeping score, and the other half of my window is going to be the streaming software, so that way I can operate graphics at the same time as utilizing the scoreboard without having to jump back and forth. So that split screen that I create real quick helps to allow me to do these things quickly. And then the last step, now that we're happy with how this is working, we check to make sure it's functioning. All we have to do is hit the key on button, and then it's going to go from preview to program, and that means it's showing up in the live view. We click send, and we're off to the races. Let's try it. So now that we checked our preview, we also want to make sure that it's going to pop on the program. So I'm turning on. We see it in both locations. This means in program that that's out. Then we hit live, the play button on the live view, and we're live. So we've talked about it. You know what we're trying to do. You know what we've accomplished. We set everything up. We made sure that the signal was good. We sent it somewhere, although we don't know where yet, because how do we actually get the money? Well, my experience has been that when it comes to streaming a single game, the actual amount that you'll be able to charge ranges somewhere between like $200 and $500 for a game. When you're looking at live streaming a single game, it's usually not worth it. So for me, during football season, I actually freelance for a sports production company. And the reason why I do that is because to try and find the clients yourself is a business in and of itself. It is so much easier to work for someone who has already created that, because like I said, the income ranges from $200 to $500 a game. If you're going to charge a parent, a coach, it's going to be even less than that. Where the money actually comes in for a sports broadcasting company is going to be on the advertisements, the sponsor deals, editing highlight packages for the individual kids with the footage you're using. The value proposition for the live stream to a parent or a coach is so small. So working for somebody who's already built out the network, has the sponsorship deals, they pay more than you would get on your own per game. And so for me, during football season, they have a contract for the entire conference. So all 16 teams or 8 teams, whatever it is that they have in the conference, at multiple different fields, they need a stream tech at each one. We're able to get $225 a game but there's 6 games in a day. A game's maybe 90 minutes for middle school sports, and so on and so forth. So if you think 225 times 6, that puts you at $1,350 a day. So you're able to make really good money if you're willing to work from 12 to like 9:30 or something like that. It's about a 9.5-hour day, 10.5 if you factor in setup time, and it's a pretty straightforward approach. So how did I actually find that client? Well, believe it or not, I was actually one time decided to search on Indeed.com to see if there were part-time or freelance opportunities, and the person had an ad up, and I was able to get in contact with him. He hired me off the bat. This was, God, about 4 or 5 years ago. He started me at $90 an hour, and we adjusted, during different seasons, different sports. I would either work hourly or I would charge per game or a flat day rate, something like that. But football season's really the bread and butter because we're able to pack so many games in a day. Baseball season's a lot harder because the games are longer. So we get a flat rate for the one game, but it is significantly less. So if you found this content valuable, I think it's something that you definitely could make a good living doing. And it really sets you up if you want to take your career further and potentially be an operator or a tech or something like that for like the NFL or the NBA or something like that. So it's a good foundation and a place to start from while being able to make a really good amount of money in a short period of time. So leave a comment down below. Let me know if this is something you've thought of doing or if you have any other questions. I'm happy to go more in depth on like the audio setup if we're adding commentators, or if you want to go more in depth on how to do the live graphics and stuff like that. But I thought this would be a pretty good inclusive package that shows you enough to where you could pick up and start doing this yourself. So again, this is all part of our journey for health, wealth, and freedom. And I hope you stay on that journey with me, and good luck. Take care, everybody.